Welcome to our regular October board meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Coletta Fryas.
Here. Here.
John Green.
Here.
Scott Latham.
Here.
Brian Tobin. In the event of an emergency, visitors are advised that they may exit this room from the one side door which leads directly into the parking lot. In the event of an emergency, everyone is asked to move away from the building and do not attempt to leave in your automobiles. And simply approach the parking lot while entering the emergency room.
Thank you. Our first item is the first hearing of visitors. At this hearing of visitors, we ask that questions and comments be kept to only agenda items. Does anyone care to address the board at this hearing? First hearing of visitors. Okay, that brings us to our consent agenda, which includes our minutes from our regular board meeting of September 22nd and the work session of October 13th. It includes our financial matters, which is our bills, the treasurer's report for August and September, the monthly budget status report for September, some transfers that we were given, and extra classroom activity fund, contracts with scope for the UPK program, the preschool extended day, and before and after school care. We're surplusing some saws and some other stuff, and broken beyond repair Chromebooks. And then we have, in this as well, some donations from our own Mrs. Fouché. Lots of stuff. I'm not going to read through this list that you're kind enough to donate, along with some children's books from Leah Leonard and Chris Ruge.
No, that's me to
No,
them.
that's where
Oh.
they went
Go to
to.
them.
Oh, okay
They're all
then.
from Judy.
Oh, okay, got it, sorry. So books, bean bags, and a lounger. Also our CSEs. I think I've got everything in the consent agenda. Are there any questions, comments on the consent agenda? Is there I just wanted to make note that the preschool, the before and after school is paid directly from parents to Scope, so that's not paid by our district. Okay, is there a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Why do I feel like I'm out of number here? That was 6, right? It's been a long day. Sorry. Old business. We have any old business? Superintendent's report, Dr. Mora.
So, it's nice to see school going on in a more similar fashion to what we have in the past. In the last couple of weeks, I've had the opportunity to visit with multiple teams. Our shared football team that plays over in Greenport is winning games for, they tell me, the first time in years, and it's enjoyable to be there at night on a Friday night with a lot of families from 3 different communities watching the game, and it's great to see. Our cross-country team was undefeated this year and will be in the divisionals tomorrow for the first time, and they were undefeated for the first time in, they tell me, over 20 years. And they've had a wonderful season. They have a great group of kids, and I've been down to Indian Island to see them run a couple of times. Our tennis team also went to playoffs, did a fantastic job. We had some individuals go all the way down to the finals, and they did a great job. Our soccer team will play on Saturday in the playoffs. Our school play will be going on this weekend. I've had an opportunity to get in there and hide in the back of the auditorium when they're rehearsing, and they're great. And it's great to see all these things going on. Senior surprises, which are PTA support in front of the building, and it's just real. I've never seen some of those things at different places before, and because of the year that we had last year, I didn't really get to see them the way that they are now. And many of them, all of them actually, have been done outside, so maskless and in such a nice way. And then we've also even had the opportunity to go on some trips. Did you go on that?
I didn't. I had a golf counties that day, yeah.
Yeah. Would you mind telling everybody what it was and how the kids felt about it?
It was a senior trip to an adventure park. So it was like they just had like zip lines and just obstacles like that you could climb. It was different levels. There was the easiest levels and then the hardest. So for the kids who kind of just wanted to go there for a fun time, they weren't forced to even go on any of them, but just to the main purpose of it was for all the seniors to bond. And obviously the past couple of years have been a little tough on the students. So just to have these trips, especially right away this year, and then there's more planned for later in the year to have these trips where the seniors can bond and then obviously have a fun time for the kids who wanted to climb. And so they had all those different difficulties, and that was the senior trip.
So we also had an 8th grade trip planned for the same place that was supposed to be this morning, but with the 50-mile-per-hour winds, we chose not to send anybody up on zip lines and into the trees. So they've rescheduled it for a few weeks from now. Both of these trips were free to all of our students. They were grant funded through some of the return to school grants and things like that. So we had the ability to do that for 2 of our grades, and and it's nice, like I said, to see the typical things going on and the pleasure that the kids and the adults are really getting out of it. So that was really all I just wanted to share. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you. That brings us to some personnel changes. Employees leaving the district on a full-time permanent basis. Christy Paredes Carrillo, her resignation is effective October 29th. Regina Vanderscaff, her resignation is effective November 2nd, 2021. Jacqueline I butchered these names, Viscoso, is taking child care leave effective March 7th, 2022 through June 24th, 2022. Kristen Derrigan is taking child care leave effective February 5th, 2022 through June 24th, 2022. Joanne Rizzo put in for retirement effective June 30th, 2022. And then we have employees entering the district on a part-time temporary basis. International Club Advisor John Myers, substitute teacher Kathleen May, substitute teacher aide Catherine Lillis. And then we have employees entering the district on a full-time temporary basis. Caitlin Appel will be a guidance leave replacement effective November 3rd, 2021 through June 30th. That should say 2022. It's going to be June 30th though, right? Not June 24th like the others?
No, June 30th.
Okay, 2022. Are there any comments or questions regarding the superintendent's recommendations? Is there a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, now we've got a bunch of resolutions that I know I have to read. Is this increasing last year's budget, 2021 budget, by $65,000?
Right, yeah, just a formality that we never did increase the budget
We
during the
didn't.
year.
Okay. All righty then. Be it resolved that the Board of Education does hereby increase the 2020-2021 budget in the amount of $65,000 and to increase the expenditure code A9050.800.000.000, funded by the unemployment reserve. Is there a motion? Second. All in favor? Aye. Capital Reserve Fund. Be it resolved that the Board of Education authorizes and directs the district treasurer to fund the Capital Reserve Fund previously established pursuant to 3651 of the Education Law as authorized in the board resolution at the June 23rd, 2021 Board of Education meeting in the amount of $950,000 from the unassigned fund balance at June 30th, 2021. Motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Retirement Contribution Fund, known as the ERS. Be it resolved that the Board of Education authorizes and directs the district treasurer to fund the Retirement Contribution Reserve Fund, ERS, originally established in 2007 pursuant to General Municipal Law 6R in the amount of $80,000 to be funded from the unassigned fund balance at June 30th, 2021. Motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. The Retirement Contribution Reserve, the TRS. Be it resolved that the Board of Education authorizes and directs the district treasurer to fund the Retirement Contribution Reserve Fund, originally established in 2019 pursuant to General Municipal Law 6R in the amount of $200,000 to be funded from the unassigned fund balance at June 30th, 2021. Motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Workers' Compensation Reserve Fund. Be it resolved that the Board of Education authorizes and directs the district treasurer to fund the Workers' Compensation Reserve Fund originally established in 2008 pursuant to General Municipal Law 6J in the amount of $70,000 from the unassigned fund balance at June 30th, 2021. Motion?
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Repair reserved. Be it resolved that the Board of Education authorizes the additional funding to the Repair Reserve Fund authorized by the voters in May 2009 in the amount of $80,000 to be funded from the unassigned fund balance at June 30th, 2021. Motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Unemployment Insurance Reserve. Be it resolved that the Board of Education authorizes and directs the district treasurer to fund the Unemployment Reserve Fund previously established pursuant to General Municipal Law 6M in the amount of $46,000 from the unassigned fund balance at June 30th, 2021. A motion? Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Was that all ayes?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Motion carries. Phew. That put money in our reserve funds, what we just did on those last few. That brings us to committee reports. Finance Committee report is Judy.
Yes, the audit.
That'll go right into 18, then we can do that together, right?
Yep, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Finance, Audit Committee, whatever. The Audit Committee met on, when did we meet? I got them, October 25th. Brian and I both met with Chris Reno from Cullen and Danowski, well, whatever they are, Cullen and Danowski and a bunch of others. And Dr. Morrow and Mr. Scheid all met together. And the takeaway from that are just a couple things. A, our financial statements are clear. Our business official has control and knowledge over our financial statements, which means that we are considered in the clear. In other words, we know what we're doing and we do it well. So I'd like to thank Mr. Scheid for that. We talked about some of why we have some of the money going into reserves. We had some under expenditures, and we also had some additional revenues, but not enough to make it where it's an alarming amount. I think this is a good amount that we've been able to move over to reserves. We discussed, really, the only major things we discussed were some of our operational issues that came up on the board last year and what the status of them is now. And I'm happy to say that last year we had some issues with some old special aid fund stuff, money coming from grants and being charged back to the right thing. That is entirely cleaned up, and we are pretty current at this point, and procedures have been put in place, so that comment has come off. The fund balance for the school lunch fund, we're still carrying just a little bit more than we're supposed to be, but part of that is because we had under expenditures in there this past year. But again, the amount that we're over is not huge, and it should average out next year. There's a lot of pieces that go into that, but it's nothing to be totally alarmed about. Extra classroom activity funds, they had a clean audit, pretty much. We've had instances in the past where sales tax wasn't being paid on our purchases, and we're not a nonprofit, so therefore we're supposed to pay sales tax. We had no sightings on that. The only sighting we continue to still have is that we have a couple elementary clubs that technically we're not supposed to have elementary clubs, extracurricular clubs, but they're not significant enough, and it's not a kind of thing that will make us want to change what we're doing. It's not a financial issue, okay? And then the only other thing was, let's see, tailoring a policy to make sure that our grants are in compliance with, or actually that we have a policy that talks about how we handle our grants and things like that. Mr. Scheid is working on that policy. And should have something to the policy committee, hopefully sometime in the next couple months. So pretty much all of our things that they found in the prior year audit are resolved, and there's nothing else new that they came up with and found. So internally, we're just as secure, if you will, as we are in terms of the knowledge of our financial statements and our ability to put those statements together and present a good audit to the state. The only other thing of note is that due to the pandemic, we did receive more federal funding and more federal grants and things like that. So for the first time ever, I think, we have to have what we call a single audit. It's an additional audit on just those funds to make sure that they came in and we spent them
Do we have a time
appropriately.
limit on when to spend that?
What's that?
Is there a time limit on when to spend that federal?
Yeah.
Two different grants. One of them is for 3 years, so the 1.1 million is
Yeah,
over
I have
3
the
years.
numbers here.
And the other one was, the 500,000 one was 2 years or 1 year?
Yeah, so
They can only be COVID-related expenditures.
now, it was two grants that made a difference. One was COVID-related, and one was the grant that we have to assist with what do we call that? The improvement, school improvement plan and stuff like that.
They give you allowable.
Right. So, and there, where we get, when we use the money, which is basically every year, it's broken down, typically you don't need to have a single audit as long as your federal sources are under 750,000 or under. These two grants put us over the 750 threshold for this year and probably will for next year and maybe going into that third year. So we have to have the single audit where they come back in at the end of this year, and they'll come back in and they will specifically audit those grants. So, and that's part of what Cullen does.
Can we pay out of the grant money to pay the auditing firm?
Yep.
Okay, good. So it's not really costing us any money for that additional audit, because
Right,
we can use the federal money to pay for that.
yeah, yeah. And it's a
And
nominal.
flex those dollars.
Right, and it's a nominal fee. I mean, and
I know,
it's interesting
If
because
it's
that
something they're
comes
making
up.
us do, then why should our
Right,
taxpayers?
that comes up in our RFP every year, and we've never actually had to be concerned, when we do the RFP for our auditors, we've never, single audit, yeah, what are they gonna charge us? But we've never really had to have one, so it was kind of a moot point, but it's still, we're fine. So, but that was it, so, I now would say that
Good stuff.
all the stuff is being sent to Mr. Scheid's corrective action plan, and our audit will be sent to Albany, but I just need to make a motion to have the rest of the board approve the audit.
Judy made the motion to accept the independent audit report of the financial records for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2021, as prepared by Cullen and Danowski LLP, and approval to send the corrective action plan. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for your, and Brian's work on that, and to certainly the business department for all their hard work, keeping us, because I know it affects our ratings and many other things. When you get clean audits, it's very important to the district.
Makes it very nice to be the audit committee.
Building, it wasn't always that way.
It wasn't always that way. It makes it very nice to be the audit committee now.
Yeah, I remember those days. Building committee report.
We have not had a meeting. I know that we have a new architectural firm, and they're in the process of doing a building and ground survey, which I guess is every 5
Every 5 years, I think, right?
And we will be having a meeting soon, but nothing to report since the last.
Policy committee report.
Chuck is working diligently on the grant policy, but other than that, it's quiet.
Okay. And the district-wide safety plan that we were presented with, I believe last month we got it, and now we need to approve it. Are there any questions or comments on it? Is there a motion to adopt the 21-22 district-wide safety plan?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And that is on the website for anybody that cares to look at it, right? Okay,
It has to be, yeah.
that's what I thought.
And then, last year, I think for the first time during the year, we actually changed the plan because of the pandemic. They
Right,
made us-
right.
There were required changes to it. It's typically a summer annual thing. So we are meeting to look at it again.
That's what you
Yeah,
said,
we had to postpone a couple of meetings with everything that went on over the last couple of months. So we are meeting, and, if there are suggested changes, then we would bring it back. It would be posted again for a month, which is the waiting period, and then it would be adopted again.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any new business? Did I ask that already? Anybody got any new business? That brings us to our second hearing of visitors. At this time, we will entertain comments and questions about agenda items or any school matters that you would like to discuss with us. If you care to address the board, just come up to the microphone and state your name and where you live, please. Hi, Britta.
Hi. I'm Britta Babishak. I live in Southold. I'm part of the PTA, but I'm also an alumni of Southold too. My son graduated from here. My daughter is a senior and my other daughter is a sophomore. I'm coming here tonight to discuss the guidance situation that is occurring within the school, and part of the reason is I'd like to discuss some of the business issues with that, not only for the seniors that are encountering it, but also for the parents on the outside. And I'm coming to the board because I'd like to discuss that in terms of its effect, what is going on with the guidance department, in effect with regard to business, because that's the only way I could figure out a way to approach what is really going on that has affected both students and parents greatly. This will be the seniors' fourth guidance counselor in a matter of several months in terms of their college process, and I know everyone here is trying to handle the situation the best of their ability, but it, in my opinion, has been a long time coming. It's just a situation where it's come to the surface. So in that light, I'd like to talk about excellence and investment with business, in terms of their experience with this guidance department and what is going on. And the easiest way for me to communicate to you is I went to Southold. I have a very good idea of what it was like to be a part of Southold and the excellence that was here in terms of Dr. Nephews, Teresa Taylor, Bob Fager, many others, down to Steve the custodian was here when I was here. And there are some very excellent people that are a part of Southold, including Barbara Ackerman, who was here for a very long time. She ran this guidance department solely by herself. And she still is active with students, and my daughter is doing is a RILA leader with her and interacting with her in Rotary, so her job still is not finished. When I see Barbara Ackerman in the community, she still knows who I am, knows all of my children's names, knows everything about me. That's Southold to me. And I think everybody who goes here, encounters that, realizes that that's Southold. But what happened this week is a little bit of what's going on that I see that is not Southold and is not excellent in every way. And each of these students, the seniors especially, during this period of the pandemic, each of these students, when they're asked to come through that door, is put to a standard of excellence. And every day that they come in, it's very clear what the world is like for them right now, and that standard of excellence is not wavering. They're expected to do a lot. They're expected to meet a certain expectation. And it's never been greater than what it is right now. So I'd like to see those needs for these students as they're encountering that be especially supportive and meet all of their needs. The problem that I'm having is, and this isn't just my son's 4 years removed, and my daughter is now a senior. She's at the top of her class. So she is number one in her class. What I'm seeing is this district always had a standard of excellence. And what I'm seeing is that the rating is a 2 out of 3, 2 out of 3 out of 5, a B or C from niche. And according to the Public School Review, we're below the 50% in terms of the 783 New York districts. And we have a high school readiness score, which means for these seniors, we have a high school readiness score of 35 out of 100, which to me, I'm finding that a lot of seniors have a real hard ability to meet the gap when they leave here. But for me, understanding my children are in this district, the district hasn't changed population-wise. We still have classes that are 50 to 70 kids, and we have a high school of only 240 to 250 kids. When we're looking at other districts, and they have 1,000 kids per class, we're having some major problems for these students that we shouldn't be having in a district of 200 to 250 kids. The revenue per student is not about resources. The revenue per student is $2,000 higher than the state average. And my question is, why are we having this problem with excellence? And there are two phrases from staff, students, families that I continuously hear that come and ask me questions as a PTA president, vice president. Why should I bother and why should I care? And that, to me, is not Southold. And I don't want to see that attitude, and I feel like the kids were on the receiving end of that attitude this week. Because to me, every one of them matters, and I wouldn't be here speaking, I don't come unless it is really important and it concerns the kids. I can date back. This guidance problem is not a problem that occurred this week or for these kids in a matter of this month. This guidance problem, I had a meeting with my son 4 years ago with, at the time, Mr. Gamberg, Mr. Galati, and the guidance staff concerning my son and concerns I had with the college pathway, the college timeline the school had with getting students to college and top students to great colleges. And Mrs. Reardon looked at me in that meeting and said to my face in front of her administrators, 30% of Southold students go to Suffolk, so why should I bother? And that, to me, in that meeting, when I turned my face to Mr. Gamberg and Mr. Galati, I said, that is your problem. And a lot of students in the top have parent advocates. They have parents that have outside resources. Kathy Williams, who is a part of this staff, handles a lot of college resourcing for these students and parents outside of Southold Guidance Department. There are other independent consultants that are handling those overflows, especially for top students. But in terms of the timeline, we are completely off with meeting the needs of senior level students, juniors and seniors, in terms of what the timeline is for them and their college process, and also getting them to great colleges. Other schools in this area, specifically Mattituck, is having great success with getting schools to top colleges. I just personally had an experience where my daughter is the top in the class. She has received, outside of COVID, she's received one meeting with a list of schools. Half of them weren't even appropriate for her. And that's been the only thing she's had in terms of the guidance department, the guidance process, except for me directly going in August, September, working with Mr. Rush and the leave replacement, Regina Vanderschaff, and Mrs. Messina, in terms of letting them know that documents should have been already uploaded. The college process begins August 1st. And as soon as the student is ready and they do their due diligence, they should be able to upload and have those documents sent. Because I'm also being told information that isn't appropriate about that colleges wait until all the applications are in until November 1st, and it's okay if they, and things like that. And that's completely false. A colleges receive on a first-come, first-served basis. Financial aid and scholarship is first-come, first-served basis. Parents in this community are facing a $200,000 to $3,000 investment for college. Those students' ability to apply when they want to press the submit button and everything should be loaded with due diligence should be there, because it means our investment, our kids are our investment. We should be able to receive scholarship for them on their accomplishments and their due diligence when we want to receive it, not when documents are loaded at the last hour. Also, I was told about teacher recommendations that they're simply a request and the teachers don't have to do them. And that's fine, but let the student know, because I also had an issue with students requesting in May and April and May, teacher recommendations that haven't been done until this week and not loaded. And that, to me, is inexcusable to the child, the student, and they shouldn't be put in that position. I'm bringing up all these examples because it is my opinion that you are the example. The adults in this building are the example. Guidance is the example. And when they're on top of everything and they're being excellent, and they've done that for how many years, and they're beginning their college journey, that should not be met with this kind of professionalism or this kind of incompetence. I can't call it anything less than that. And it has been coming for a very, very long time. And I want to say that it is at no fault of Regina Vanderschaff that she was put in this position. She was basically, it's football season, so I'm going to say she was the third string quarterback put in for a Hail Mary pass, and she was. You can't redo a guidance department and get seniors loaded in 2 weeks amount of time. It's an impossible task for anybody. And she was put in a horrible position, and she's done an unbelievable time trying to be supportive, caring. She's gotten to know the students, and I just want to say on behalf of her that, like, I can't say I blame her for exiting. You said this evening that she's leaving and someone else is coming in. This will be the fourth person these kids have had. I just want to say that the status of the guidance department is not the fault of her situation right now. It has been the fault of a very, very, very long time with a lot of different parents dealing with that. And parents don't necessarily have the time to deal with all of this in terms of a pandemic and other things that they're concerned about. And just the last thing about investment, this school operates on a very good budget. The salaries within this district are 58% higher than most of the salaries in the state. And it is okay for us as parents, for the students to demand an excellence to that, to demand a competence, to demand a diligence to that. And I don't believe that in itself, the guidance department is about $300,000 of that. Administration is largely about $800,000 of that. These are things that need to be addressed because we are operating on a very large budget. The budget is nearly 85% salary, 15% for the rest. And the fact that this happened to parents and to students, that's why I'm speaking out about it, because ultimately it was unfair to the student. And that's where I come in. And if my situation were any different, I just want to say my daughter is an excellent student. She's at the top of her class. I'm a single parent. We rely on scholarship. We rely on that. I expect the people in this building to take that very seriously, especially when you have a top student. If you have any student, you could be at the bottom. I don't. But it should be taken very seriously. You should care. And the other thing about it is me being a single parent and her being a very good student. If I wasn't the parent that I am, and she was just in her process and she had 0 from this guidance department, right now she would be looking at a list of invaluable schools to her, to what she's going to do. She would have no engagement in the process. She would not have known anything about when to apply, early action. FAFSA came out October 1st, nothing. She would be far beyond the point of where she could get any type of scholarship in terms of a great institution that she could probably achieve in doing. So let's take a look and examine some of these things, especially with the guidance department, because it really at this point, it may have at the last hour fulfilled, like not failing these students. But I can't really know that right now because some of them are not going to have Navient load to Common App in time. And if they don't get an acceptance or they don't get a scholarship, they're not going to know. And it's entirely unfair if they don't get an early app or a scholarship or a full ride because of that. And so I'm asking you to take an examination of the guidance department as a whole. And Dr. Martin knows I fully support this building, I fully support the school. I come in for meetings, I'm here all the time, and it's been at the top of my list for 5 years. I've talked about this problem continuously from parents in the district, from students. I've talked about it continuously. So I appreciate it, and let's just do the best for the kids, okay?
Thank you. Thank you. Does anyone else care to address the board at this time? Just come up to the microphone, say your name and where you live, please. Is that you, Julianne? Is that you, Julianne? I can't tell, okay.
I am Julianne Karsten, and I came on the same, well, the guidance issue was made, we were made aware of that actually when we were on a college visit and trying to figure out, oh, are we going to come back and try and apply early decision, early action, all this, we had it all set and we're just going to press this button once we came back. And then found all of, does everybody know? Do you all know exactly like what's going on? That it's all new people and it's been new people and okay, I'm sorry, because I don't come to a lot of these, so I'm just, everyone's on, like, it's crazy. No matter how hard people are trying and no matter how much effort and heart and time and a lot of angst, it seems like, is being put in, it just seems like a rather untenable situation for anyone to come in and hit the ground running, which is exactly what you would have to do for an early decision or an early action. I have, once I got word, we were away and I got the email, came home and tried to de-stress a little bit. We had a wonderful trip. It was an exciting school, but it was hard not to have the wind taken out of our sails, hearing this. So I wrote and called and, just sort of put out the word that, hey, is this really happening? And are you, and when I say you, I guess I hit up the guidance department. I've known Sandy Colin a while. I just gave a call and chatted about it and had already met with Ms. Vanderschaff, with Cal. But that was really only once we found out there was a new person, and it was just it was nutty. But in any event, talking with Mr. Rush and Ms. Vanderschaff and Sandy Colin and Christy as well over at the guidance department, everyone is really, really trying their best at this moment. But I guess I would love a reassurance. I mean, I'm getting that reassurance from Mr. Rush and Ms. Vanderschaff, and the guidance helpers too, but I would love a reassurance that we're not going to miss any deadlines due to this issue, due to the upheaval.
That's our, that's absolutely our goal.
Yes.
I know that Mr. Rush and Dr. Simonetti have, put together a table of all the kids that are in that, and they're checking on.
Yes.
And Ms. Vanderschaff is working very hard.
Yes.
I had an opportunity to visit with her today.
Mm-hmm.
And has worked very hard.
Mm-hmm.
She really has worked very, I happen to be here a lot of hours.
Yes.
So I know when she's here.
Yes.
So I can guarantee you that all those people are doing all of those things.
Okay.
I'd be lying if I could tell you that I could guarantee you the final outcome of everything, and I try not to lie. My mother.
No outcomes.
Out that would so.
Just that
all that stuff. So
we're doing our part.
I can tell you that we are doing our part. Probably more under the microscope this year than past years because of circumstances that are going on.
It seems like that. I did hear Mr. Rush had said that he was putting together a spreadsheet, and
Yeah, I've seen
they
it.
were checking it all out.
The timeline has to change because it's not appropriate to the current timeline of what other schools and colleges are accepting right now. It's if you don't start at the end of junior year, you start at the beginning of junior year having that conversation. By senior year, August 1st, you should be loaded, ready to go, and anytime a student wants to submit, they should be able to submit. Like, that's the way the process is working. If you talk to any admissions office, that's what they're gonna tell you. So, I don't know.
Yeah, that hasn't been my experience in
Regular
conversations
admission, you
with
can
them.
still apply later, but if you're a top student and you're applying to an honors
No,
college,
this is,
Yeah.
some of them
Go
are
ahead.
very.
Anything else, Julianne?
Um,
Sorry, I just.
No.
Yeah.
I just wanted to hit the that we're under the gun big time.
Thank you.
I can't speak from a top student, but a really hardworking, athletic,
All
awesome.
students should be the
Everybody
same.
counts.
All
They're
students should be the
great.
same,
They're all
regardless of where they,
super
Doesn't
hard.
matter.
regardless of if they're the top or the
However,
bottom.
the timelines that I'm looking at right now are November 1st and November 15th. And that's what my son has been working towards. So I'm just really going to trust that since he's done his part, the school's going to do our part.
I would also say, and I've had conversations with different parents, and I would encourage you that if you're anxious about it, you're not sure, call up and ask. Call Mr. Rush, call Dr. Simonetti, and they'll get you an answer on exactly not, what might be or whatever. They'll be able to look in to tell you what is done and what's not done and what's sent and what they need and that type of
Okay,
stuff.
my understanding at this point is everything's done except guidance. That's my understanding. So that's kind of why I'm here, and I want to just,
I can have them give you a call tomorrow so they can
Oh,
give you, I don't have.
no, you don't have to do
I
that.
don't have information in front of me even.
As I've said, they've both been in touch with me.
Good.
They're reaching out, I'm reaching out, but I just want to know that we're all aware of this situation and making sure that our kids don't suffer for it. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julian.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else care to address the board?
My name is Tracy Palumbo. I have a senior as well right now, and I would just like to say that I completely support everything that these moms have said tonight. And this process for our kids is very stressful, and well, for everyone probably, but it should never be wrought with total chaos and panic. And that's what the past 2 months have been for these kids. And I think we all agree moving forward, if we can alleviate all the chaos and the panic and be prepared next year if we need more people on the job. Mrs. Vanderschaff, she did a yeoman's job, I have to say, and my own opinion. And one person cannot handle everything that she was put on her plate. So perhaps just thinking about that for now.
Thank you.
you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. That brings us to our board member commentary. I'll also note here that our next board meeting is November 17th. And stay tuned, we may not be in here, we may be in the auditorium as we go forward, because if there's, we talked earlier this evening, as we do presentations, which we love to do, because we love to include the students, they may be in the auditorium. So you're going to find us either in the auditorium or in here for our meetings this year. Okay. It's all yours.
So right now within school, this Friday, the student council is planning a trick or treat around the hall, and that pretty much just entails the student council is providing candy for all teachers, and the students during their homeroom period go around. They need to give their homeroom teachers $2, and that's all being donated to the Newman family, the Dylan Newman's family. And just something fun for the students, as that was before last year. I think it was going on for a couple of years before that. obviously couldn't have it last year, but just trying to bring back the things that were going on before last year. And that's one of the things we wanted to bring back. So that will be happening Friday. That's something student council's planning. And then Dr. Morrow touched on it earlier, but just this fall sports season, I just wanted to acknowledge how well it went for pretty much all of our teams. There has been plenty of historic seasons. He touched upon the cross-country team, their first undefeated season in a long time. The girls' tennis team had their best season in a while. The football team, if they win their final game, they're in the playoffs for the first time in 10 years, I believe. So just a lot of success around these fall sports teams, and it's bringing excitement for just around the school, just to have these sports back right away this year and for the season to be going so well among all the teams. And then also he touched upon just the senior trip, some of the things that we see back in school this year, right away this year. Obviously last year, at the beginning of the year, it was a little weird. We had hybrid model, but this year, everything coming back right away. It's been nice and exciting for all these sports and senior trips, and there's more senior trips to be planned throughout the year. So just all of that has been nice to have for the students throughout the beginning of this year.
Thank you, Mr. Latham.
I appreciate everything that was said tonight, and to tie that into a hot-button national issue with school boards and all that's going on with protesting mandates and whatnot. You can come here any day, any meeting here, and call us any sort of names. You're never going to be referred to as a terrorist. You're never going to be referred to as anything other than a parent advocating for a child. And I would love to walk away from the New York State School Boards Association, because I'm sure they're members of that other association that wrote the letter that triggered the Attorney General to get involved in something that they have no business in.
Which we're not part of. I don't think we're part of the national one. We're only part of the New York State School
No,
Board.
but the state is probably.
New York State is
okay,
probably
okay,
part of them, yeah,
okay.
and I'm kind of,
Because once upon a time, I
We've been
think we were
called
part of it.
nasty names, and it's rare, and it doesn't bother me. But you can come here and say whatever you want, and we will take it under advisement, and we will never sick anybody. You act up, you might get a call from the locals, but you're never going to have the FBI knocking on your door, and it's shameful what's going on in some of these
Glad you went first,
districts.
Scott.
So, other than that, I'm good.
Thank you. Go ahead, follow that one.
I think the first two speakers basically said what I was going to say. So I we do appreciate you coming down. I mean, it's always nice to hear positive things, but we have to hear everything. Because, we're not going to know. I mean, and Dr. Moore is aware of this. That's what we spent the last hour or so discussing. So we realize there's an issue, and we're going to try our best to make it right as quickly as possible, for your students and get a system that's a little better for everybody. We'll try.
I agree. No, I ditto that. I mean, I think you will be happy to know that this is not an issue that we have not been discussing on and off for quite some time, not just this year. And unfortunately, a couple things over the past year, like that COVID thing, and, leave replacements and things like that tend to exacerbate areas where we already are looking to improve. So I think, as Dr. Crean said, know that we are aware, we have been aware. This particular situation kind of caught everybody by surprise in terms of, just from the summer till now, in terms of all of that. But the people who are there in the trenches and the people who are looking at this understand how important this is right now to get through the critical period. But as well as, like Britta said, it's just as important to take a look and figure out how to make it so we have less and less critical issues like that. So, but again, bringing it up kind of reinforces to us that we know we're focusing on the right things too, or that we're concerned about the right things as well. So it's good that we hear that from you. The only other thing I want to say has nothing to do with that, is I'm very, very looking forward to coming to see a live performance this weekend. I think that will be a lot of fun, and I'm glad that you guys are starting to feel like you're back in school and you're doing the good things that come with, being part of this district. So, thank you.
I echo all that everyone said. Thank you for coming. We do take it seriously. We have tough skin. We know that it's not meant personally against us. And it is a concern of ours. And we're here for all of the kids from the top to the bottom and all of those in between. We don't distinguish between them. I don't think anybody in this district does. And Britta, like yourself, I'm an alumni from Southold, as is Judy. As a matter of fact, my mother was an alumni from Southold as well. So my heart and my pride runs really deep in this district, as you know. And Barbara Ackerman was a wonderful counselor. And I think we have, on a whole, a pretty wonderful staff that I can go out there and still see people that ask about my kids that went to school here. And they do care. They do care. We can't always get it right. And the frustrating thing about this one is the timing is so important. I'll go back to when our boys were in school and we went through, I believe, no exaggeration, 9 Spanish teachers in 2 years for this one particular class, because a teacher would come, a teacher would go. It was just, again, one of those things. The timing wasn't as important as this is because of the deadlines that are at a national level, and I get that. But I remember my frustration then. I'm like, why can't we just get, and I was on the board, why can't we get this right? Why can't we somehow get this right? And as much as we try, sometimes we can't always get it 100% right. All we can tell you is that we're here for the right reasons, I think, and to try and get it right. And we'll do the best that we can. It's a known thing. We are aware of it, but we appreciate your bringing your concerns to us, because quite often we learn of things, in the grocery store, on the sidewalks, or in church. So it is always nice to hear about them in a formal meeting. I also want to congratulate all the fall sports teams. It's great to see all of that activity. I'll be sad now that everybody's coming back inside for the colder months. And like Judy said, it's exciting to have a in-person play this weekend for the students and for the staff that works so hard on it. And I guess come to our meetings regularly, even if you don't have anything to complain about. You're welcome to come. And hopefully we're going to have a lot of presentations this year highlighting our students and what they do, K through 12. It's sometimes, because the meetings take place in this building, we kind of focus on it. And so, we're a K through 12 district. We're on one campus, and, we want to include all of our students. So thank you all for coming, and hopefully we'll see you on November 17th.
I'm sorry, I just want to say one more thing.
You can't. That's against the rules.
Okay, I'm sorry. Just that there have been so many amazing things.
Yes.
About this hard
Yes.
year.
Yes.
We've heard positive after positive after
Yep.
positive from my son and many others. And so I am sorry that
No, don't be
sorry.
Don't be sorry.
Oh, don't be sorry.
We're not giving up on that excellence that we've always had and that we will have, that we expect, not from just our students, but from our staff.
We need to hear this. We
Yeah.
need to hear this.
We need to hear.
Don't apologize, Julianne. It's
No, we need to hear
don't
this.
ever apologize.
Come again.
Don't ever apologize. But we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all for coming.